Hey, Shalom Markins of Karma Kapash from GMS London, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem Rakah Kodash. Going to give double honors unto the elders, the apostles of GMS, and Shalom out there to the hopeful elect, pushing his truth and all sincerity. Right? Back again with another lesson. And I just wanted to go into, this devil and how he talks, right? Because every time, they be up on the stage talking in front of public and cameras and that kind of stuff, they took a whole bunch of shit. Right, and a lot of stuff that they're speaking, they don't even mean it, and they actually mean the opposite, right? Which made me think about, how the occult, they use double speak, right? Where they're saying one thing but they mean something completely different, right? And so we got these, these bills, right? That Donald Trump be passing. The latest one being that Genius Act, right? Which meant to, be so good for all the people because it's genius because it's smart, right? It's a smart act, It's a smart thing to do. It's the dumbest thing for you people to believe in. It's dumb, right? And it's just insulting, especially with him, how he names these acts with the big, beautiful bill. It ain't gonna be nothing beautiful about it, But it's all to deceive and to create that illusion. Because that's all these guys do. They do with all that witchcraft, right? So everything's about illusion, right? Casting that illusion on people that, this bill is going to change everything. It's going to be good for the people and this and that. And, but all this is going to bring you into slavery, right? The Genius Act is going to bring you into slavery. But you people that believe in Trump and that vote for Trump and, you're idiots. And, like I said, it's really like an insult to the minds of the people, man, because you're being subverted by him and by the elites ultimately, right, that are bringing these plans into play, and you're just gonna vote for it, build your own cage. Basically, that's what you've been doing. You voted your own slavery, your enslavement. All right, so I just wanted to go in a little bit of about double speak, which I'll go up here, right? And this is from the AI, Google AI, right? So occult double speak refers to the use of language within occult practices and beliefs, right? Because these men are all witches and warlocks, right? So they deal with all of this, right? And beliefs that is intentionally ambiguous. Like you don't know. When you listen to Trump talk, right? There's nothing clear about what he says. Everything's ambiguous. He don't explain anything. He can't explain anything. But you eat up. People eat up. Oh yeah, Trump's gonna, fix America. How? Well, we gotta, a few things we're gonna do. We're gonna, and there's never no clear cut real answer. He just said he's gonna do it, and it's gonna be beautiful. It's gonna be beautiful. Yeah, no one else could have done it. All this shit. Like you're not really getting anything from him. All right, but you're buying into the cult of personality that he has, So yeah, that is intentionally ambiguous, misleading, or symbolic. Misleading for sure, right? Like I said, this Genius Act is meant to liberate people and their finances and all these kinds of things like that. But really, it's going to enslave you. There's nothing truthful about that statement. Nothing truthful about these bills that he's putting in place. Big and beautiful. There ain't nothing big and beautiful about this. After he was campaigning against all these cryptocurrencies and CBDCs and stuff like that, he was campaigning against that, and now he's backing stablecoin. It's not a CBDC, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing normally. So, and like I said, you people are really stupid for believing it, right? Believing in it. All right, but let's go back. This is often to conceal deeper meanings, right? He's concealing what these things really mean, right? He's telling you, this is great for the American people, but at the same time, well, not, but realistically, it's bad for you people, right? Or to maintain secrecy. It involves using language in a way that obscures the truth or manipulates perceptions, similar to doublespeak in other contexts, right? And that's what these men are like professionals in. These are natural born devils, so they do this very well. All right. Let's go to the scriptures, right? The Psalms 58 verse 3 says, the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies, right? Natural born devils, deceivers. That's what the word devil means, deceiver, right? And that's all these mans do. They deceive, right? Their poison is like the poison of a serpent, because these men are the serpent. They are like the deaf adder that stoppeth her ear, which will not hearken to the voice of charmers, charming never so wisely, right? So these men were born wicked, born to deceive, all right? Here's a breakdown of how occult double speak manifests. Symbolism and allegory. Occult traditions often employ symbols and allegories to represent complex concepts, which can be interpreted differently by individuals based on their understanding and level of initiation. And the whole thing is full of symbolisms and stuff, and you don't really know and understand what they mean, but they do. All right. This allows for a veiled communication where the literal meaning is not the intended one. Secrecy and initiation. The nature of occult knowledge often involves a degree of secrecy. Right? The use of double speak can be a way to control who has the access to certain information. Okay, well, what's all these secret agencies for? CIA, MI5, MI6, FBI, and all these, all these different things that you can't know what they know. What do they know? You don't know. You're not allowed to know, right? So they literally could be doing anything and saying anything, and you just have to believe them, which is what they do. Well, they tell you, oh yeah, this person's a threat, this nation's a threat, so they've been doing this, and so we got to go over there and destroy them or whatever. Yeah, you hear all these narratives that come out, and you don't know if they're true. I say a lot of it's just BS, right? So that's just an example, right? So, initiation rituals and degrees of understanding within occult groups often dictate the level of access to specific knowledge, right? Euphemisms and obscure language, just like in political discourse, right? And that's why politics is full of it. This is the seat of Satan, man, right? This is occult practices may use euphemisms or jargon to make potentially disturbing or controversial concepts sound more palatable. When I say kinetic action, or the whole deal with the whole Palestine and Israel thing, like the man, the way Israel is speaking, certain representatives and that is mad. Just justify their violence, or to obscure the true nature of practices, right? Manipulation of meaning. Occult doublespeak can also involve deliberately inverting, like that's flipping it up, like changing it up opposite, right? Inverting or distorting the meaning of words or concepts. Big, beautiful bill, genius acts. These things don't mean that. Oh, what they're doing is nothing that's gonna benefit the people. But you slap one of these big, these big names and big terms on it. Oh, it must be good, right? You must be a fool to believe it, right? Or concepts to create a specific effect or to maintain control over followers. For example, the concept of reunification with the divine might be used to describe the process of enslavement to a higher power rather than a liberating experience. Same kind of thing with these bills. It's not a liberating thing that's going to take place through Trump, and he's not the savior of America. He's not the God-fearing man that's going to bring you to God, because we need to make the Bible great again. That's what he said before, right? He ain't do none of that. He bringing everyone closer to Satan and in slavery, enslavement. So again, when they speak about oh God, on back of the dollar bill, right? What's the Latin? Annuit Queptis, is it that one? I think it's that one, right? And I think that means God favors our enterprise, right? But the ambiguity is the word God, or the title God. God is just, it means power, right? And so in this world, there have been many gods, idols, right, that have been set up in this world. So what God do they worship? It's not clear. But you just assume, because it's supposed to be a Christian nation and all this type of stuff, right? You think it's the God of the Bible. But in reality, it is not. These men that set up America were Freemasons, your founding fathers and all that kind of stuff, Washington and all them boys, they were Masons. They don't worship the Heavenly Father. Okay, they worship Satan. You know, so it's this ambiguity of words and not saying what they really mean that deceives the common person, because they make you believe in, you know, the assumptions that you make of them, because they've kind of pushed that out there to, you know, to have you believe that, even though that's not what they meant, right? Psychological manipulation. The use of doublespeak in a cult can be a tool for psychological manipulation, where individuals are led to believe they are gaining power or understanding, when in reality they're becoming more dependent and controlled. Again, that's something else that's happening, right? These Edomites, these so-called white people, these elites, right, give you all this technology and all this liberalism, right? All this quote unquote freedoms, democracy, right? Making you believe that you're somehow progressing and becoming freer. You could do what you want to do. You know, love has no boundaries, all that kind of fucking stupidness, right? You know, you don't have to be, you know, a man could be a woman and vice versa and that kind of shit. You know, a woman doesn't need a man anymore, and all the stupidness, right? Right, but really, what you're doing is destroying yourselves. Your freedom is destroying yourselves, right? Which is dumb, right? And so it's the same thing here. So you're becoming more dependent because they're making you more dependent on the state, and that's what that's what they're also doing right now, creating you more. Well, that's what the digital currency is going to do. When they strip the cash, this old system out and replace it with the digital system, you're going to be dependent on CBDCs and i.e. universal basic incomes and all that kind of stuff, right? You're not progressing. It is not going to, you know, become free or all that sort of stuff. You are going to be enslaved by the system that's being designed right now, which you're, you know, helping to build. Right? So when in reality they are becoming more dependent and controlled, right? In essence, the occult doublespeak is a way of using language to create a veil of secrecy, ambiguity, and symbolism, which can be both a means of preserving esoteric knowledge and a tool for manipulation and control. All right. So that's what guys like Trump and that be doing, and that's why when they talk, it just sounds stupid to us, man. Because how can you believe this devil? But people do, and this is part of the witchcraft. All right. There was one extra thing that I wanted to bring out quickly, right? It was under this heading here. What are the 4 types of doublespeak? In this lively and eye-opening expose, originally published in 1989, linguist William Lutz identifies the 4 most common types of doublespeak, which is euphemism, jargon, gobbledygook, or bureaucrates, and inflated language, right? And you know, just quickly focusing on these last 2 points, right? Because that's what these politicians do, right? Bureaucrates, how you pronounce that, is a style of language characterized by its excessive use of jargon, euphemisms, circumlocutions. They never get to the point. They just go around in circles. Elder Apostle Gabar, you know, brought that out. They don't get to the point, man. They just go around in circles and never address nothing. That's what these politicians do, right? And abstract terms often used by bureaucrats to obscure meaning and appear important. It's essentially a form of communication that prioritizes formality and complexity over clarity and conciseness, right? Just to hit the point on circumlocution, instead of a direct language, bureaucrates tend to use roundabout phrases and indirect expressions that making the communication unnecessarily lengthy and complex. All right. So essentially, bureaucrates can make communication unnecessarily complicated, making it difficult for the average person to understand the intended message. It is often used to maintain an air of authority and expertise, make them seem smart, right? But can hinder effective communication and transparency. All right. And what was the other one? That was the inflated language. Can't remember if it said anything really about that. Inflated language, also known as overblown or flowery language, is when someone uses unnecessary complex or elaborate wording to express a simple idea. This often involves using jargon, euphemisms, and overly formal phrasing when simpler language would be more effective. And our enemies do that. You know, these other, you know, Israelite groups or Christian groups, vocab, these types of dudes, right? They say things in such a way it leaves you like, oh, well, he must know what he's talking about because I don't understand what he's talking about. He must be smarter than me. That type of shit. Whereas us, we just, you know, we bring in the scriptures plain and as plain and precise as we can. You know, sometimes we go back further and break down words even lower because obviously not everybody understands the Old English that well. You know, we read the King James for the most part, but you know, some of these other translations they give us simpler understanding because of the language differences. But we have to keep the true meaning of the scripture intact. So that's why we go through the breakdowns, you know, and go into the Latin and Greek so you can understand what these passages actually mean. You know. This often involves using jargon, euphemisms, or overly formal phrasing when simpler language will be more effective. Essentially, it's language that tries to sound more important or sophisticated than it actually is. Right? And you can see, I'm not going to read all this right now because I'm a bit short on time, but you can see it here. Yeah, you can pause it or whatever. All right. But you know, this is what your politicians be doing all day long. All right. So these men are just devils. Right? They're just devils, all of them. Right? Because they all do the same thing. Right? They're all here to deceive the people. They're not for the people. Right? Trump's not for the people. Right? He's out here deceiving the people. Right? So let's jump into the scriptures now. So I'm short of time, so I'm gonna try and get through as many of these as I can. Let me get Psalm 64. Actually, let me grab the other one first. It's Daniel chapter 8, verse 25. It said, through his policy, also he should cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart. And by peace shall destroy many. Right. So these leaders are selling the dream. Like all these things that they're bringing to pass is going to be, it's going to make for a prosperous future for America, for the world, and so on and so forth. Right. But they're straight up lying to you. They know it's not going to do that. Right, they know exactly what they intend to do with these bills and these acts and all these laws and stuff that they put in place and everything they do. They plan on destroying the people. They plan on enslaving them, you know, doing all that sort of stuff, right? Because the MLTB is something that's on their mind that they're pushing for, and they have to do this in order to get there, right? So you know they have to convince you that all these steps that are being taken, because they have to be taken, so you are going to see them. Because it has to go there, right? So you are going to see it, but they paint it in such a way that you don't see it, that you think it's like the opposite of what it is, right? That these things are good. Oh, they're not bad, you know. And so when it comes down to taking the MOTB, when it does come, you're going to think like, oh, like your guard is going to be down because you're going to be thinking shit, like everything's gone to hell around me, and the only way that we can survive is if we take this chip. Take the MOTB. All right, and by this point, you're gonna think, oh, ain't that such a bad thing? The government, they're gonna protect us. The government ain't looking to protect you. They never have been. Right. But like I said, this is something that that Antiochus Epiphanes did, and these men are repeating those same type of things. Right. So he's gonna offer you peace and protection and all these different things, and try to sell it to you like all these things that is developing is good. We're gonna call it the Genius Act because you got to be it's a smart act. It's a smart thing to do. And if you don't believe in it, you must be stupid. But it's not the case. If you don't believe in it, you're smart. If you believe it, you're stupid. All right, but like I said, if you don't believe in what they're doing, man, they're gonna call you stupid and rebellious and whatever, right? So anyway, he says, through his policies also he should cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart. And by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand, right? So again, Trump's, following like suit. All these different technologies he's promoting. It's all MOTB tech. All MOTB tech. Right? Psalm 64 verse 5 says, if you start from 2, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect Sunny day they shoot him and fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. These men are working evil. Right? These rulers, these leaders are working in an evil matter, right? So they commune of laying snares, traps, privately, right? So they cover their tracks essentially, right? That's what you do when you put a snare out there in the forest to catch prey or whatever. You hide it, you cover it up, and they cover it up with these words. These everything they're doing, they cover it with words and sleight of hand, things like this. Like illusionists, like magicians, right? They're doing one thing, but they got you concentrating on something else, right? To distract you from what they're doing, right? And so you miss what it is that they're doing, and you can't work out how they did it. It's kind of like the same thing, but they use their words and certain actions they take. It misleads you, so you don't really see what it is that they're doing, but they're doing it right in front of you. Get that sleight of hand, right? They say, "Who shall see them?" Because you ain't seeing them. We see them. The Most High sees them. Just the common folk, the average Joe, the people the Most High ain't dealing with ain't seeing them. And maybe not all of them, because obviously some of them are up on Trump and what's going on and stuff like that. But the Lord's still not dealing with it, but they see what's going on. All right, so they search out iniquities, they accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. All right, so they're working it in front of you, man. And like I said, they it's sorting your intelligence. All right. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 14. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Right? So Satan's got himself parading around like he's trying to help people. Like Trump's trying to help people, man. Like he's a God-fearing man. He ain't no God-fearing man. He ain't no angel. Right? He ain't come to save America. He's come to do the bidding of the elite. Okay, and the elite want to put you in slavery, in a digital slavery. And that's why the Genius Act has been passed. To get you closer to it. Right? To have the system be built upon a digital currency. And when they pull the plug on this system, then the only access is going to be through this digital system. And you're going to need to be chipped to access it. To get your universal basic income. Because you're going to be dependent. Esau is making you totally dependent on the system. And that's why wealth is being sucked out from the people and being transferred to the elites. Right? In double time speed. Right? Because you ain't going to have no money. You ain't going to have no jobs to earn money. Right? So you're going to be dependent on the government and what they offer. Okay, and what they're offering is a digital currency which they can completely control. Right? Because they're gonna claim, we can make sure everybody gets the help, that we don't miss nobody. Even the homeless man on the street, he won't be missed. Because we can bank the unbanked and all these different types of terms. Right? All they need to do is take the chip. Which is the MOTB. And they ain't gonna tell you that. They ain't gonna tell you it's the MOTB, but they're gonna say all the solutions, resides around taking this CHIP. But at that point they got you. And that's it. You're gonna be a slave to that system forever. Now you can't act outside of it anymore. Can't do nothing on the hush hush. There's nothing nowhere you can go. Nothing he won't see. That won't be recorded. So therefore it is no great thing if his ministers also, right? So that's Trump and all these dudes, all these leaders, all their puppets. Because even Trump's a puppet, right? But they got puppets too, right? They all got puppets. There's a puppet master. Puppet master is the Most High. But if we're gonna start with these elites now, they're the puppet masters controlling all these different pawns that you see out there in public, pushing their agendas. So therefore it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works. All right. It's Revelation 13 and 16. He calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, that no man might buy or sell. Right? Because this time's going to come where you're not going to have to buy or sell anything unless, you have this mark. Okay, it says, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Right, and so we know that to be the macro sihip. The idea of it being sin is stupid because we're all living in sin now. That means we've all got it, right? That concept doesn't make any damn sense. I'm not going to go into that right now, but it can only be this one thing because that's the thing that Esau's working on. Esau's not going to turn around, like I say, he's already got everybody sinning. That's not going to be the prerequisite of being able to buy and sell, because everybody's that already. You don't have to ask nobody. These men have got sin on the tabs. You know what I mean? So how are you going to be pushed out of the system? No, this C-hip that's going to, if you reject it or not, it's going to keep you out of the system. Because you won't be able to use, old money anymore. Right? So you're going to have to take the C-hip to use this digital currency. What time is it? Okay. Let's get a couple more, right? So, let's see. 2 Corinthians chapter 2 verse 11 says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices, right? We're not ignorant to what Esau's doing, how he goes about doing it. Okay, what these things he's doing really means, right? Because we know what his MO is, we know what the agenda is, we know what his goals are. All right, so when he brings these things, into play, it's like, well, we already know. We know not to deal with that, not to believe in that, right? And this is Sirach chapter 12 verse 10 says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hadst wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away. Set him not by thee, lest when he have overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or any such as come now by a beast, right? Because that would be a stupid thing to do. It's not the smartest thing to do. That's for damn sure, right? So if a person gets bit by a wild animal, it's like, well, yeah, kind of expected that to happen because that's what they do. You might think you're slick, because you're charming the snake and that, but realistically, it's an animal, man. A violent one when it want to be, right? So if you get bit one day, ain't nobody going to be surprised because that's the type of animal you're dealing with. It says, one that goeth to a sinner and is to file with him in his sins, who will pity, right? Because you've had the warning. We're telling you who Esau is. We're telling you that this guy cannot be trusted. Like I said, they're a nation of devils, right? So for a while he will abide with thee, but if thou begin to fall, he will not tarry. And the enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, right? He will tell you everything that it's big and it's beautiful, right? He will tell you everything that you want to hear because you want to believe what he says, because you want those things to manifest, right? To be real, right? So yeah, he knows what to tell you, right? And this is why they have a left-right paradigm, because on both sides, someone's got something that they want to hear, and this is how they just stay in power, because they got one side that's fighting for, a majority of people's ideologies or whatever, right? You wouldn't be able to do that if you just had one party or whatever, right? So they have multiple sides in the races to captivate you still, but you're still under the control of the elites. That's the beauty of their plans. Like, they stay in power ultimately, but you vote for Republican or Democrats every fucking year, thinking that something's really going to change. No, he just knows what you want to hear to get those votes in. Half the time they don't even do any of that stuff. But you believe in him because you want to believe in him, because you believe it's going to make things right. So yeah, they know what to say, right? They know what the problems are. They're not stupid. They're not blind. They don't ever do nothing about it, but they're not blind about it. They know. They created it. They created the problems. So of course they know what to say to you. Right? Enemy speaking sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagined had to throw thee into pit. He's just thinking, how can I use this against you? That's what he's thinking. How can I use this sentiment against you? And this is why they play those paradigms, to get different things in place. All right. he will he might have to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if you find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. Right? If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first, and though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee. Right? He's not here to help. Esau, Satan, he's not here to help. Right? He's only going to undermine. Okay? And that's what he's consistently been doing, right? He will shake his head and clap his hands and whisper much and change his countenance. Right? And this is what we keep saying. You're going to see the real side of the devil, okay, in due time, man. You know? I think that's pretty much it, actually. So, yeah, you know, this is, you know, the devil and how he speaks, right? And how he deceives the people, man, because he sells you lies and dreams that he don't intend to fulfill for you, man. He's got his own agenda that he's been given to fulfill. Okay, it ain't got nothing to do with you, man, but he just got to convince you. So he'll talk to you in ways that just is ridiculous, you know? And like I said, you know, you just have to take his word for it, right? But we won't. We don't, right? Because we know all these guys are full of shit. All right? Genius, yeah, sure. Big, beautiful, yeah, sure. You're never going to be poor again, sure. Whatever, man. It's all lies. You have so much money, you're not going to know what to do with. Whatever, man. You know, it's just pure lies, right? You're going to be the brokest you ever been. That's what he means. You're going to be broke. You don't need money. That's what you want what to do because you want nothing to buy. You're going to buy nothing with it. You know, but anyway, I'm gonna go. So yeah, hopefully this is edifying, and I'll catch you brothers and sisters on the next video. Until next time, I say shalom.